So, of course, as many of you know, we enjoy just like stirring that pot, right? And we do like talking some ish about other teams, other head coaches, other players, much to the chagrin of Bears and Bills fans, by the way. Like, I don't know how many times I've been called fat by Bears and Bills fans the last couple of days. Am I really that fat? I don't think I am. I feel like I'm looking pretty damn sexy nowadays, but you know. All right, so we're going to rank all 32 NFL head coaches because why not just piss off 31 other fan bases, because why not? So let's get right into it. Number 32, starting at El Bottom. So Matt Patricia. Oh boy. I do think that he may be one of the worst head coaches in NFL history. I think he will go down that route. By the way, Bills fans, we say root as a goof. Yeah, welcome to the channel. All right, so 9-22-1 for svelte 297. Now 297 won't even get you in the Hall of Fame in terms of batting average, and certainly terrible as a head coach. So I think he may be finally relieved of his duties. I think him and Bob Quinn may be washed out in Detroit, and thankfully so, because Detroit fans deserve a better grade of head coach as well as GM. So he getting out of there. Next up, so Adam Gase. Of the Jets. I still have no idea how Adam Gase not got another head coaching job, because he was terrible with the Dolphins. I don't know how. Like, the Jets played the Dolphins twice a year. Didn't they see how bad he was? And Gase is like the remnants of riding the coattails of Peyton Manning. Like, Adam Gase made his bones as the offensive coordinator of Peyton Manning in Denver. So it's like, huh? What is happening? What is going on? But now he will shortly be relieved, and just poor Jets. Kind of feel bad. Next up, so Doug Marrone of the Jaguars. I still don't know how Doug Marrone is still holding on to his job. Like, does he have the pictures of Dave Caldwell? Actually, how does Dave Caldwell still have a job? Like, I understand if Khan is trying to completely tank this team so they can move to London a little bit easier. If that's the plan, they're doing a bang-up job. But Doug Marrone is just this wafy, milquetoast, terrible head coach, eating bologna sandwiches and whatnot. Go look that up. No. I mean, this dude is barely a coordinator. Get him out of here. Next up. So you could say that this guy, so Bill O'Brien, you could say that he is the worst general manager in the league. I don't want to be mad at you, but weighing in him as a head coach, like him, just as a pure X's and O's guy, he's kind of fine. You know, he was OC of the Patriots back in the day. He was head coach of Penn State those 2 years they were on probation. But, I mean, yeah, he does have a winning record. Yeah, he has been in the playoffs 4 times, but woof. No, like Texans fans, Deshaun Watson certainly deserve better, and it's just, part of it is just him as a GM as well, just giving away nuke, be like, hey, David Johnson, I gotta get me some of that. Nah, get out of here. Next up, number 28. So Mike McCarthy, and I understand, like, well, he won a Super Bowl. How can he be bad? Trust me, as a Vikings fan, someone who's seen Mike McCarthy twice a year for a number of seasons, Mike McCarthy is completely lost. He is the grown-up version of the kid from Up. He completely rode the coattails of peak Aaron Rodgers. I'll admit that, from back in the day. That Super Bowl win in 2010 was a complete fluke. It was all Aaron Rodgers and Jordy Nelson running option routes. So I don't know why the Cowboys saw him as an upgrade over Jason Garrett. And I'm not even a Jason Garrett apologist. Like him, Jason Garrett always tried to go 8-8 just as an homage to Michael Irvin, Drew Pearson, Dez Bryant. That's exactly what he did. But Mike McCarthy is going to run this very talented Dallas Cowboys team into the ground, or they'll win the NFC least at 7-9. One of those two. Oh, you won a Super Bowl. Congratulations. Next up, 27. So Zach Taylor. I think that the NFL is starting to swing away from the 12-year-old boys in terms of head coaches. Like, oh yeah, Zach Taylor just got a whiff of Shaun McVeigh's fart one time as he crop dusted him at some coach's banquet, right? So Zach Taylor, who, by the way, before he was head coach of the Bengals, he was assistant wide receivers coach 2 years before that of the Rams. So 2-14 his first year. I don't see it necessarily getting better in year 2. I don't think he's the right guy for Joe Burrow. So not so much. Like 0.125. Like that's like a really bad DUI. Like how is that? Yep. Next up. So Vic Fangio. Vic Fangio is a hell of a defensive coordinator. I just don't think he's cut out to be a head coach, especially one of a team that is leaning a lot more towards the offense. So I think that Pat Shurmur will actually eventually get this head coaching job. I think Elway will just put Fangio out to pasture. I mean, just get whoever. They're like, hey, Von Miller, rush. Oh, that's hey Bradley Chubb rush. Yeah, that one is just so tough. But yeah, Fangio, I mean, no, just absolutely not. No, not so much. 25. So first real controversy, Matt Nagy. And I understand that Matt Nagy was AP Coach of the Year a handful of years ago, but you're telling me that Matt Nagy was the best coach in football a couple years ago. You're telling me that Bears GM Ryan Pace was the best GM in the league a couple years ago. He won Executive of the Year. Oh, he traded for Khalil Mack. Oh, how hard was that? But I think Matt Nagy, besides that one fluke playoff year, has proven that he can't develop quarterbacks. He cannot develop a kick-ass offense. He's only suited for one side of the ball. Hence, he's always outsourcing his defense. He did with Fangio, and now he's doing it with Chuck Pagano. And I think Chuck Pagano deserves another head coaching shot. I think it might be here in Chicago because I think I could easily see a spot where the offense falters yet again. They can't get anything going with Mitchell Trubisky, or the corpse of Nick Foles. And then all of a sudden, Chuck Strong, he's back. He's back, baby, as interim head coach of the Bears. Eventually wins that head coaching job. And that'd be great. I would cheer for Chuck until the Vikings played them, then boo Chuck. Yeah. Next up, so 24, Cliff Kingsbury. In terms of a guy who never had a winning record at his alma mater, Texas Tech, which is kind of tough to do in the Big 12, right? Bro, you have Pat Mahomes as one of your quarterbacks. And then coming in after 1 year, drafting 75 wide receivers, then trading for Nuke. I don't know, man. I just don't know. Like, I understand that you're stealing this job from Steve Wilkes, who was fired after a one-done spot, and somehow the GM, Steve Keim, still keeps his job. I just don't see it. Like, I want it to happen. Obviously, I love Kyler, love Larry Fitzgerald. He deserves better, but no. Playboy boy ain't going to play. No. Next up, 23, Joe Judge. So, special teams coordinator, formerly of the Patriots, coming in. Okay. I do respect special teams coordinators because I think in terms of seeing the entire field and managing an entire game, I feel like special teams coordinators just somehow have this knack. Maybe it's just John Harbaugh is legit, but I do like this hire. I don't necessarily think that he will sync up with Daniel Jones based off of nothing, apropos of nothing, but I don't know. Don't at me. 0-0. Next up, 22, Kevin Stefanski. So Stefanski, for me, it's pretty low. And obviously I'm biased since I saw him here in Minnesota here since 2006. But I think that he is a very solid leader of men. I think he's a very good manager of egos. And I think that he's great taking his ego out of things, where you saw last year where the offense was a collaboration with Gary Kubiak. I think he got the Browns head coaching job second year for a reason, where he interviewed last year before eventually went to Freddie Kitchens. And I think he has all the offensive firepower as well as great pieces on defense. I mean, he's got Sheldon, he's got Myles Garrett, where I think that he actually could surprise a lot of people, and maybe next year he'll be a lot higher on this list. Next up, speaking of guys who have never won a game in the NFL, Matt Rule, I think he is fully set up for success. He has an owner who gets it and is not afraid to spend the money. He's got Joe Brady, who turned Joe Burrow into the number one overall pick and a Heisman Trophy winner. Teddy is a great manager. I think he'll do great things with Christian McCaffrey out there in that offense, and then they just got speed for days. Matt Rule is a defensive guy, and I think the Panthers will be a lot of fun and will surprise a lot of people. Next up, so 20, the 12-year-old boy. Yes, I fully understand. Fluke year. The beginner's luck, 13-3, with the corpse of Aaron Rodgers just dragging his ass along. Fully understand that. But, going after Jordan Love, going hard in the paint as Aaron Rodgers' replacement, drafting a 2-down running back in the second round as well as a fullback in the third. Great. Cool. I understand, like the Packers fan base do have this weird relationship with fullbacks. John Kuhn. But I think this year will be a massive regression. I think that the true coach, the guy who actually should have gotten the job, Mike Payton, is really hoisting things up on the defensive front. I think he's really carrying the water for the 12-year-old boy. So I think that will be exposed. I think his offense will be a train wreck. I think Aaron Rodgers will be in full revolt, the octogenarian quarterback, and I think it'll be done. There you go. 19. So, Jon Gruden. You almost forget that Jon Gruden won a Super Bowl back in the day. But I don't know. This experiment with the Raiders, is it going to work out? Will it not? Mayock has made some kind of questionable general manager moves, especially regarding first-round picks, which I don't know, man. I just really don't know. And I want Gruden to do well. I really like Jon Gruden. If they start Marcus Mariota, I think that they have a shot. But until then, maybe not so much. Next up, number 18, So Dan Quinn, DQ. The man who had a 25-point lead late in the game in the Super Bowl. I mean, he should have a Super Bowl win. Like, there should be a 1 next to the Super Bowl win column, but not so much. But Dan Quinn. You liked him coming over as a defense coordinator from Seattle. Remember when Seattle was always just like, hey, former defense coordinators of Pete Carroll, let's just give them jobs. Like, Gus Bradley. He was one of those guys that didn't work out in Jacksonville. But I think DQ as well as Dimitroff, I think they may be wearing out the welcome in Atlanta just a little bit. You can definitely tell that Dimitroff is pulling off all the stops and trying to flail and just keep their jobs. But I mean, Atlanta's always good, but they're not good, if you catch my drift, right? So I think DQ is better suited as a coordinator, so I think he'll be out of a job this season. Next up, so Frank Reich. I really love Frank Reich, and remember, he was an afterthought. He was like the Colts' third choice after Josh McDaniels left them at the altar. But I do like the sort of calmness that he's brought to the Colts. I think him and Phillip Rivers will be able to sync up and do some great things. Remember, they were together. Reich was OC out in San Diego back in the day for Phillip Rivers. So I think that with the AFC South wide open, they could have a shot. Next up, oh no, they revealed the rankings. Well, you're going to see him anyway. 16, so Shaun Mcveigh, the original 12-year-old boy. I think the boy wonder is becoming the boy blunder. Some questionable personnel moves, as well as I think that Shaun McVay is just really trying to outsmart himself. I mean, they gave Jared Goff that massive contract, and I just don't see it. I think last year was not a fluke. I don't think that they'll ever return to the premier playoff or the Super Bowl anytime soon. So I think that we may have seen peak Shaun McVay, and I think that things will crumble around him. Like, he certainly has not been the same ever since he kicked Wade Phillips to the curb, which is absolutely atrocious on his part. So, I think that McVay will eventually just run this thing into the ground, and then he'll just have to be a quarterback's coach somewhere, which is fine. So 15, a little bit controversial. So Super Bowl participant Kyle Shanahan. Now, he was just given like a 17-year extension, which is great. I mean, in terms of, hey, congrats, Kyle, for winning with your mentor Gary Kubiak's offense. Cool. Congratulations on that. But, Jimmy Garoppolo, it's whatever. I do like that they got Brandon Ayuk. They got Kittle, the best tight end in the game. Ooh, I almost call him a wide receiver, so maybe that will be part of his contract negotiation because he's trying to get paid, as well as Debo is an absolute stud. But I don't know. Next up, super controversial. So 14, the douchebag Sean Payton. Now, does have a Super Bowl, does have Coach of the Year under his belt, does have a 626 winning percentage. I don't care. I do not care. I feel like that a lot of his clout was made off of the right arm of Drew Brees, and of course that arm is falling off, and I don't know if he can replicate that. Yeah, he can get all cutesy-wootsy that he wants with Taysom Hill. Obviously, you got Teddy Bridgewater paid, but actually, no, Teddy's play got him paid. It was nothing to do with Sean Payton. Or maybe, I'm going to turn around the career of Jameis Winston. It was like, Michael Thomas is the best wide receiver in the NFL, just throw at him 25 times a game. Yeah, okay, yeah. Get out of here. Go home. Yeah. Next up. So 13, Sean McDermott. I felt like this is kind of low, but then I looked at the list above him, and I was like, I actually do love and respect what he's done with Buffalo, even though, man, Bills fans get mad. Even though I have nothing but love for Sean McDermott, as well as Leslie Frazier. I think that he's got the Buffalo Bills circling in the projecting in the right direction. Plus, the AFC East is wide open as of this point with Belichick up on blocks. Well, the Belichick's going to win 11 games with Jarrett Stidham. Just watch. Next up, so 12, Anthony Lynn, LA Chargers. Remember, the Chargers are just 2 years removed from a 12-4 record. Now, he hasn't been given a ton to work with, but he does have some nice pieces on defense. He's got a couple of nice wide receivers. The inked-up Austin Eckler, Hunter Henry's no slouch, as well as now you got the quarterback of the future in Justin Herbert. So I think things are looking up for the Chargers. Frankly, I like the Chargers' chances better than the other LA team. I think the Rams are trending in the wrong direction. I think I really do respect Anthony Lynn. I think he's a good manager of men and egos. So I think that it's unfortunate that they're in the same division as the Chiefs, which it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough for a number of years. As long as Pat Mahomes is still in his prime, I mean, that's going to be the Chiefs division. Next up, so number 11, Mike Vrabel. The thing I respect about Vrabel is that he makes no apologies for the type of ball that he wants to play. Like, he's very Zimmer-esque. He wants to lead with the defense. He wants to run the piss out of the ball and protect his quarterback. limit the mistakes that this quarterback can make, which I think is great for Ryan Tannehill. I think it's great for Kirk Cousins as well. And I just love Mike Vrabel. Just brings that hard-nosed, linebacker-esque attitude. Even Mike Vrabel was a hell of a tight end. You go look up his tight end stats. He's just really, really good. Next up, so number 10, also from the Belichick tree. Oh, maybe they're starting to turn things around. So Brian Flores is a guy that I absolutely respect as a leader, as a defensive mastermind, and now they do have their quarterback in the future. They sutured up that offensive line. I think there's going to be great things coming from the Dolphins. And we talked about, last year, the Dolphins were sort of in the Jaguar spot where it was clear that they were trying to tank, except they didn't. Flores rallied the Dolphins to some really impressive wins, including a late season win over the Patriots. So I'm in. I'm fully in on the Dolphins. I'm fully in on Brian Flores. I think he's got a bright future in the NFL. Next up, numero 9. It's a BA. God, I love BA. No risk it, no biscuit. The kind of guy who would run all verts on 3rd and inches. Just that's the kind of guy he is. Now you're with Tom Brady. Now you're with all those weapons. I just love Tampa Bay. I love Bruce Arians. Would be awesome to see him ride off in the sunset with a Jerome Barty if the Vikings can't win it this year. Also, home Super Bowl. We've seen that before. Yeah. Next up, so Doug Jabroni Peterson. Yes, respect. Yes, Super Bowl win. Philly. He's one of the only redeemable things about the entire Philadelphia Eagles franchise. Like Carson Wentz seems like the nicest dude in the world off the field. I think Doug Peterson as well. And yeah, why couldn't Brad Childress be Doug Peterson? Yeah, picking up the non-play calling offense coordinator from Andy Reid. Why do we have to pick Childress, and why do they have to get Doug Peterson? That's what I want to know. Also, Doug Peterson, what knocks him down a peg or two? Actually, I should move him down to the teens because I just remember that he used to be the Packers quarterback. He was Favre's primary backup for a number of years. So screw him. Next up, Riverboat Ron. I don't think that Ron was fully appreciated in Carolina. I think he should have held on that job. I understand that David Tepper wanted to clear the decks, put his own coach in charge, but Ron Rivera is a legit great coach. He's very steady. He's a pretty solid game manager. Of course, he just loves to roll them bones, which is great. And should they have won the Super Bowl with Jake Delhomme? Man, that's a good team too. Jake Delhomme, Musha Muhammad, Steve Smith, prime Steve Smith, Jordan Gross. That was a good team. That's a really good team, man. I think that if anyone can solve the dumpster fire that is Washington, Ron Rivera can do it. I think he's got that clout. Bruce Allen is gone. Daniel Snyder seems to be in the corner. No one puts Daniel Snyder in the corner. Oh, yes, Ron Rivera does, right? So Rivera in charge. Oh, you have a good case that Washington has the best front seven in football. You really do, especially with the addition of Chase Young. Ron Rivera, of course, is a defensive guy first, but also offensively, I think Haskins could eventually develop into something. You got McLaurin, you got Antonio Gibson, you got some interesting pieces there. So, I think if Washington can turn things around under Rivera, that's monster for him. Next up, so number 6, Gary Kubiak, Super Bowl winner Gary Kubiak. Just playing. No. Mike Zimmer clocks in at numero 6. Could go full homer on the bit, put him at number 1, but I think you'll see a lot more national jabroni lists. They'll have Zimmer in the teens, somewhere in them, but yeah, we understand his faults. He focuses too much on defensive play calling. He's one of the only, actually, depending on what Flores does this year, Zimmer may be the only head coach who calls defensive plays. And I think that it takes away from his defense coordinators. I think it takes away from his growth as a head coach. But just in terms of a guy who understands the locker room, who just gets it, who loves every single player in that locker room, and is just the steady force at the helm of the Minnesota Vikings. I love Mike Zimmer. Yes, his team doesn't show up occasionally in big games, and that is a big issue. Yes, it seems like every other year they're terrible, right? But I love Mike Zimmer, and I actually think that he may be underappreciated by Vikings fans, including myself, by the way. We have a number of videos on this channel that talks about, should Mike Zimmer be fired? All the thing. But everything is fair in love and football, but I still absolutely love and adore Mike Zimmer. Number 5, so my guy, Mike Tomlin. Last year when the Steelers went 8-8 with the corpse of Ben Roethlisberger being injured, and then you also had Mason Rudolph as well as Duck Hodges. The fact that they were 8-8, they were in the playoff hunt until the last possible second. That was Mike Tomlin's greatest head coaching job. And early on, I actually don't think that Tomlin really put a stamp on the team. Even when they won that early Super Bowl, I think a lot of it was Dick LeBeau. But the fact that Mike Tomlin is really starting to come into his own, It's just really, really impressive, and that's something that I love about him. I think that he's a true leader. I think that if he was ever let go by the Steelers, he would be out of work for about 0.2 seconds at every single team. In fact, even though I have Zimmer at 6, if you told me that Mike Tomlin is available, I would fire Zimmer's ass in a second. I mean, that's how much I love Mike Tomlin, even though I do adore Mike Zimmer as well. Next up, number 4. So a little bit controversial. Andy Reid got a 610 career winning percentage. Finally got that Super Bowl last year. Was the coach of the year a couple years ago. But yeah, Andy Reid could rise on this list because he ain't getting out of the game, and he's got Patrick Mahomes for like the next 12 to 15 years. He's got easily the best quarterback in the game, potentially the greatest of all time when it's all said and done. And I mean, Andy makes no apologies. Like, he does not run the ball. He's going to throw the ball. He doesn't care about defense. Doesn't care about the clock either. But it worked out last year, so respect. Next up, number 3. So as much as it pains me, so Pete Carroll. I don't have a hatred for the Seahawks. I'm kind of meh, or maybe a little bit indifferent, but Pete just wins. Also, this is Pete's third shot at being an NFL head coach. Because remember, he was with the Jets, and then he was with the Patriots, and then eventually ended up at USC as like the 17th choice by Mike Garrett, the then AD of USC. Turned them into a national powerhouse. Got the job in Seattle. Now, a lot of people were wondering, would that rah-rah, sis-boom-bah attitude work in the NFL? It works in Seattle. He's always had a great locker room. Of course, he's synced up with a legendary quarterback in Russell Wilson from NC State, Garrett Bradbury's alma mater, not Wisconsin. No, we do not count that rent a Wilson year. No, get out of here. But Pete, I mean, if you just ran the ball, Pete, this would be 2. This would be a 2. Oh, also we forgot to point out that there's an asterisk by Sean Payton's Super Bowl win. Rightfully so. Face. Next up. So it comes down to 2 guys. But I got Harbaugh number 2. So Super Bowl win, also has a coach of the year under his belt, was the number 1 overall seed in the AFC last year. Didn't quite work out. But just in terms of a guy who always has the Ravens competitive, John Harbaugh is it. Yeah, he absolutely is. And I mean, there was even some talk like a couple years ago that, before last year, that Harbaugh maybe could be out of here. He's a lot like Tomlin. He would be out of work for about 0.2 seconds. I would fire everyone on this list to hire John Harbaugh. I really do. He's much more talented than his brother Jim, and just in terms of just a stabilizing force, just in terms of a guy who knows how to manage the game. He knows every single nook and cranny. I think a lot of that comes from him being a special teams coach. And, he's got a 612 winning percentage, which is, what would it be? Would be the 3rd highest, 4th highest on here? Somewhere in there. But yeah, just an amazing coach, and the Ravens fans are extremely lucky. Lastly, so we all know, yeah. So Belichick, even though the Patriots may take a nosedive, may go 2-14, it's all part of the plan to get Trevor Lawrence or Trey Lance. Could you imagine one of those jabronis with Belichick? Belichick wins another 7 Jerome Bardys. Oh, we forgot to put Super Bowl wins in here. Is it 6 or 7? I don't even know. They've completely run out. But also, like, the stat that I always like to pull out is that besides his first season in New England in 2000, when they went 5-11, the worst record since 2001 that the Patriots have had is 9-7. They have never had a losing or 500 season under Belichick since 2001. How insane is that? In 19 years, not a single losing season. Yeah, you can say whatever you want about Spygate. Everyone was doing it. You can say whatever you want about Deflategate. Everyone was doing it. But respect. Absolute legendary respect. And yes, he was synced up with Tom Brady for the duration. So we'll see how he does on his own. But yeah, the Browns messed up. You had Belichick, and then you moved the team, and then you fired him. Just idiots. He was head coach of the Jets for like a month. Or it wasn't even a month. It was like a couple days. But that's good. But that is it. That is our ranking. All 32 NFL head coaches. Where do you agree? Where do you agree? Where do you agree? Where do you disagree? I'm sure we'll hear from it in the comment section. Let us know down below. Also, subscribe for daily and football nonsense takes. If you want to support the work, post on the Venmo. Please give us a follow on social media as well. But until next time, Skol, production value.